And we have 18 athletes on the start list now for the women's qualifications. There'll be 2 jumps each. 2 jumps to decide the 6 finalists, who will then jump again to decide the medals and the World Junior Champion a little later today. Ardana Makanova of Kazakhstan and her teammate Adelina Umerzakova will get the competition underway. There are 1 or 2 athletes here who competed in the World Junior Championships last year in Almaty in Kazakhstan. Victoria Coate of Canada being one of them, and Oksana Yatsiuk being another. Yatsiuk wears the number 1 bib as the number 1 ranked seed in this competition. The order of competition is random for these 2 qualification rounds of 18 athletes. Once the top 6 have been established, the scores are scratched back to 0, and the athletes jump in reverse order for one final time, those top 6, to decide the medals. Four American athletes in the round of 18 qualifiers today. We saw the American junior men's team performing well in the last round earlier today for the men's competition. But like I say, now the turn of the women to get their competition underway. The first round then of 2 qualification rounds to decide the finalists. And the first athlete up for Kazakhstan, Ardana Makanova. Makanova gets a clean start to the women's qualifications with a back somersault in the straight position, or a back layout, or lay as it's sometimes called. Makanova smiles and enjoys the sunny conditions in this late season Alpine sun. Going off the smaller of the kickers there. That's the single kicker. It's about 2 meters high. And just doing a single back somersault there. Ardana Makanova of Kazakhstan. The Kazakhstan team have already had some success today in Airolo with Azalkan Azan and Din Muhammad Raimkulov taking the first and second place in the men's competition earlier today. So a good day so far at the World Junior Championships for Team Kazakhstan as we await the judges' scores for their first female athlete, Ardana Makanova. 5 judges to decide the scores today. The judges drawn from Armenia, Canada, Czechia, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan. And those judges are looking at air, form, and landing. And those scores are then multiplied by the difficulty rating for the manoeuvre to give a total. 58.1, the total for Makanova. Adelina Umerzakova, her teammate, performs exactly the same jump, a back layout off that single kicker there. Nice solid takeoff, good straight body position in the air and a good solid landing. A 2.05 degree of difficulty for the back layout, which, as I mentioned, is multiplied by the judges' scores for air, form and landing to give a total. So the current lead score, 58.1. It'll be a similar sort of score for Umerzakova. 55.76, so her teammate, Ardana Makanova, remains in the top spot at the moment as the first of the Czechia athletes. Nelly Gronichova gets ready to jump. Once again, lining up quite low on the in-run. On the single kicker, not taking a lot of speed. A back somersault there, but with the legs tucked up in front in what's called the tuck position. The athletes aren't allowed to repeat from the first round to the second round. They need to display 2 different jumps. So I suspect that Nelly will perform that back somersault, but in a straight body position in the following round, in order not to have a repeat. It's the best of these 2 rounds that will count towards the top 6 final places. It's the best of the 2. So if mistakes are made in round 1, there is still a second chance in round 2. The scores aren't added together. They are. It's taken on the best of either round 1 or round 2. And that's a 54-0 for Nelly Gronichova there from Czechia. Back up top for the first of the host nation athletes. In fact, the only host nation athlete representative in the women's competition. We saw 3 Swiss men in their rounds. This is Hilaria Lozano for Switzerland. Now, that was 2 times round. The 3 athletes that we've previously seen have done single back somersaults. That was a double back somersault, 2 times round. So already a higher degree of difficulty for Hilaria. And a nice solid landing on the end of that double tuck back somersault. An almost perfect landing. Perfect landing scores would be 3 from each judge, specifically for landing. Remember, the judges are looking at air, form, and landing. A perfect landing score from any one of the individual judges would be scored as a 3. And from the information breakdown that I am getting here on the FIS Live timing page, I'll be able to tell you exactly what those landing scores were. But that was a good example of a landing in freestyle aerials that we've just seen from Hilaria Lozano. And her landing scores were 2.7, 2.7, and 2.7. That's out of a possible 3 for a perfect landing. So, yeah, good landing scores for the Swiss athlete to give her a total of 55.89, just behind Ardana Makanova. It's the same jump from the next athlete. A couple of hand touches and a bit of a crash at the bottom of the hill, though. That is Canada's Elia Biron, performing exactly the same jump as what we saw from Hilaria Lozano of Switzerland, the double back somersault. The athletes here at the World Junior Championships are limited to double somersaults. So even at the very top end of the finals, we're still only going to be able to see double somersaults. Still pretty impressive. The men, don't forget, were putting in double somersaults with a double twist in each. So quadruple twisting double back somersaults they were using in their competition earlier today. But the junior competitors limited to double somersaults rather than the triple somersaults that would be more used to seeing at World Cup or World Championship or Olympic level. A little bit less airtime involved in the double, but still, on occasion, plenty of technicality, as we saw in that men's competition a little earlier today. So awaiting the scores then from the judges for Elia Biron of Canada. And we can see that Elia has scored a 1.6, 1.6 and 1.8 for landing. So again, as expected. Her landing scores not as good as those of Hilaria Lozano of Switzerland. A total score of 49.22. So she slots into 5th place at the moment as Catherine McKinney of the USA takes to the double kicker. The first athlete off the double with a beautiful big back layout. Double back layout, I should say. Double flip with a completely straight body position, just laying it out there. No twist in there, but twice over. And stylish jumping from the American, Catherine McKinney. We saw the American junior men's team in fine form earlier, and look at that. A nice straight laid out body position, enjoying the ride. Sinking maybe a little low on landing, but that should go into the lead. Remember, the athletes in these qualification rounds aiming for a top 6 position. I think that should put McKinney into the lead position. Let's take a look how those scores line up. For Catherine McKinney of the USA. Well, air 5.3 total, form 11.1 total, which is the highest form points of the competition so far. And that 63.6 is gives McKinney a convincing lead in the competition as her teammate Kylie Hacker takes to the course. We saw her brother jumping a little earlier in the men's competition, and that is a full twisting back somersault on the single kicker there. Nice ride up the kicker. Twist the shoulders off the takeoff, getting that full twist, that 360 spin into that back somersault. And a nice landing. So the degree of difficulty not as high as her teammate, Catherine McKinney. She's done the most difficult jump of the competition so far with that double layout, which scores with a DD of 2.65. But Kylie Hacker there, as she awaits her score for that single somersault with a full twist. Comes in with a score of 48.99 for the back full. Team Kazakhstan back in action once again. This is Rayana Makanova. Takes a little step down. That will give her just a little bit less speed. There is a bit of wind around the hill today, and if the athletes feel that they're going to be pushed down the hill faster than they intend as a consequence of the wind, they sometimes take a few steps down just to reduce that in-run speed accordingly. And she got that right. Rayana Makanova with a nice simple back somersault there in the layout position. Nice form. Good straight body position with a solid landing. So not quite as much difficulty as that we've just seen from Kylie Hacker. Kylie Hacker got the 360 into that backflip. But Rayana Makanova perhaps will score better when it comes to the air, form, and possibly landing as well. Not much compression as she came in from that back somersault. So Catherine McKinney of the USA with that big double layout and the score of 63.6 currently leads. Ardana Makanova of Kazakhstan is in second spot. Hilaria Lozano of Switzerland in third. The athletes looking for a top 6 position as Rayana Makinova slots in with a 55.14 up into 5th place now. Victoria Coate, the next of the Canadians, one of 3 Canadians in the ladies' field today. We saw the Canadian men finish up in 4th and 5th place in the men's finals, just missing out on the podiums. And Victoria Coate there getting a full twisting back somersault in for her first round qualification jump. Best of the 2 jumps to count. The top 6 finishers from these first 2 rounds of qualification to progress through to today's final. At that point, the scores are wiped back to 0, just to remind you of the competition format. And it is the best jump of that final round that wins the World Junior Aerials title today. So a nice jump from Victoria Coate, but keeping it quite simple. Just getting the single back somersault, but with a full twist. As we just pass the halfway point in this first qualification round for the women. And Victoria competed last year in Almaty in Kazakhstan, where she finished up in 6th place in the women's competition. Great to see her back again, and that jump scores 51.29. She goes up into 7th place at the moment, so she's looking for a little more in the second round in order to get herself up into that top 6. Next to jump, Nelly Popovich from Ukraine. Lining up on the bigger double kicker, taking quite a lot of speed on the in-run. Nice jumping from the Ukrainian. Brilliant jumping. That should be enough to go into the lead at this stage. It was certainly the most complex manoeuvre that we've seen in the women's qualifications so far. We've seen Catherine McEnany get the double layout in. That was a double layout, but with a full twist in each of the somersaults. A double twisting, double back somersault. So the most technically complex manoeuvre of the women's competition so far. Nice straight body position for most of that jump. Little break of form just towards the end of the second rotation. But critically, she did get a very clean and solid landing. And I think that will be easily good enough to give her a top 6 position today. Takes the pressure off on the second jump. I think that should put her quite comfortably into the lead. And it does. There's that score, 80.95, way out in front. Diana Leblonska takes the pressure off her on the second jump. We have only 8 athletes remaining. Now, theoretically, it's possible that Diana Leblonska, whoa, a bit of an over-rotation there from the USA team's Natalie Lietgeb. Mistiming the takeoff, putting too much rotation in. Nelly Popovich of Ukraine has opted not to ski. That last jumper, just to confirm, was Diana Jablonska, who went into the lead with that full. This, a double back somersault, but held on to the tuck position for too long and just over-rotates it. A little bit of lack of experience, perhaps, showing through there from Natalie Lietgeb here at the World Junior Championships. Maybe just holding on to that tuck position. She did kick it out, but left it a little late to kick out the legs to get into that landing position, which meant that the over long hold of the tuck grab position meant that she over-rotated that trick. So the landing scores, of course, being dramatically affected by that. As we look back up top for Alexandra Montminy of Canada. Alexandra lining up on the double kicker also. What's it going to be? Well, it's the same degree of difficulty that we saw from the current leader, Diana Leblonska, of Ukraine. It's a full, a double twisting, double back somersault. The form was not as good as Jablonska's, but with that degree of difficulty, the 3.15 degree of difficulty that is multiplied by the judges' scores, it could still be enough to put her up into the top 6. The form break came, but critically she got a clean landing, so that should be good enough for a top 6 berth at this stage. She could perhaps hope for something a little cleaner in the second round. But a pretty reasonable start to the World Junior Championships for Alexandra Montminy of Canada. Well, it does put her in the top 6, well up there, 75.91, up into second place. So despite the form breaks, that degree of difficulty, the same as Diana Jablonska's of 3.15 for that full, is enough to get Montminy up into second place. So Catherine McEnany down now into third place. Remember, the athletes looking for a spot in the top 6 today. This is Oksana Yatsiuk of Ukraine on the double kicker. It's a massive jump, a little bit too big though, an over rotation from the double-double. That's a shame. She was coming in perhaps just a little too fast, maybe put a little bit too much juice in on takeoff on that kicker. Either way, the trick was over-rotated, resulting in that crash, and it means that her landing points, despite the high degree of difficulty, or possibly because of the high degree of difficulty, those landing points will be affected there. Nice form in the air, but we can see the fact that she's stretching her arms out high above her head throughout the entire flight of that trick. She realized that she'd either got too much speed or possibly too much rotation. So she sticks the arms out high above her head to slow that down. She almost made it, but the weight a little too far on the tails of the skis. And over she goes onto her back, throwing away what could have been a leading jump there. Now, is that extra degree of difficulty going to be good enough despite the crash to put her into the top 6? Yes, it is. 56.38. So on this occasion, the extra risk taken with the higher degree of difficulty paying off at the moment for Yatsiuk as she gets into the top 6, but there's still a lot to do. Remember, there is a whole second round of qualifying jumps yet to be run, so all could change. This is Yeltseveta Boyaska with a nice landing to that jump. Good form and control in the air as well. The Ukrainian junior team in fine form here in Airolo at the World Junior Championships. Let's take a look. A nice takeoff there. Really good takeoff for a straight back somersault. Beautifully held position throughout the flight of that jump. So an easy jump from a technical point of view, but very well executed by Yelizaveta Boyaska in her first round qualification jump. Wow, look at that, 57.19, and with such a simple trick, she still manages to get up into 5th position. 2.8, 2.8, and 2.8 for landing scores there, and some good air and form as well. Certainly the form points there. So good jumping, and it shows that a good display of the fact that the payoff between the difficulty and the style, often the more difficult the jump, the harder it is to rack up the style points, of course, the payoff between the two. This is Libiu Filipenka with a full in, tuck out. So a full twisting double back somersault with a beautiful solid landing as well. Filipenka competing as an individual neutral athlete here at the Junior World Championships, with only 2 athletes now remaining in this first round of jumps. 2 rounds to make up the qualifications. There's the 360 in the first flip, spots the landing, puts a little tuck position into the second somersault. And a beautiful solid landing. That should be near perfect landing scores, I would think. I can get a breakdown of the scores here on the FIS live timing page. I can tell you that the landing scores were 2.7, 2.7 and 2.8. So not perfect, but close to perfect. And a very good score from Pilipenka of 74.6 to put her into third spot. Diana Yablonska of Ukraine still leads with that huge score of 80.95. As we look back up top now for Kristina Simkova of Czechia. Oh, misses the takeoff there. The knee's just buckling a little as she hit that kicker. And the form coming unstuck a little bit in that back somersault. I think that was supposed to be a straight back somersault, but she ended up with quite sort of bent knees after just mistiming the compression on that single kicker. A 17-year-old. She gets a good landing after that somersault, but the form points will be docked a little bit because of that slight lack of control throughout the flight. Kristina was our penultimate jumper here in this first round of qualifications. The last jumper will be Team USA's Alison Patton. Patton next to jump to complete the first round of qualification jumps. The lead score, 80.95 for the full that we saw from Diana Yablonska. She's, I would say, pretty much well assured of a position in the top 6. As Alison Patton finishes off the first round with a double tuck back somersault on the single kicker. So basically taking a similar amount of speed that these athletes might take for a completely straight layout somersault. But when they tuck the knees in like that, it speeds up the rotation. And instead of going round once, they go around twice. 1, 2. As the tucking of the knees speeds up that somersault, allowing the athlete to get a double somersault off the smaller of the kickers. We've seen a couple of the athletes use this technique in the competition today. Even in the men's competition, we saw the same. And a good solid landing from the American, Alison Patton. Getting a nice double tuck back with a good solid landing in there. Certainly plenty of potential to be seen on the US junior aerials team from what we've seen today in both men's and women's competition. So 54.05. Alison Patton goes up into 11th place with a little bit more needed in that second round of jumps. Remember, it is only the top 6 that qualify at the moment. That score of 57.19 by Yelizaveta Boyarska. She's in 6th place, the Ukrainian at the moment. That is the qualifying mark for a place in the top 6. Canadians, Victoria Cote and Elia Biron, they're looking for a little bit more in their second round, as are the American girls. Catherine McEnany, though, the lone American at this stage in the top 6, as the competition organising team get the jump site prepared for the second round of qualification jumps. It'll take a few moments just to check the surfaces of those kickers to make sure they're nice and smooth, that there aren't any rut lines within those kickers that could destabilize the athlete as they go up the kicker. And then prepping the landing hill a little bit ahead of the second round. Just to the left of the camera at the moment, we can see the mogul hill here for the Junior World Championships. Yesterday saw the single format mogul competition. And there'll be dual moguls and dual mogul team to look forward to over the weekend. And there'll also be a team aerials competition on Sunday too. So plenty of action over the 4 days of the FIS Freestyle Junior World Championships for 2025. Brought to us by Rafizan, Airolo, and Ticini Freestyle. Beautiful conditions today. There was quite a lot of wind around on the hill for the men's competition. The wind still blowing a little bit on the Airolo jump site. Not causing too many problems for the women at this stage. That was a pretty clean round in that first round of qualifications. The second round jumps about to be run. The athletes will take to the hill in the same order as they did for that first round. And remember, it is a place in the top 6 that they are looking to achieve at this stage in the competition. The top 6 will make up the final, and those 6 finalists will jump again with a starting point of 0 for scores, a clean slate. And it's the best single jump in that final round that wins the World Junior Championship title. So let's take a little look back at some of the highlights of that first round of qualifications. That was bib number 12, Adana Makanova of Kazakhstan, who qualified in 5th place. Actually, that was not a highlight. That was a competition jump. I do apologize. We have gone back to the beginning of the competition. She was, in fact, the first athlete. I do apologize. I must correct myself. I thought we were looking at a highlight there while we were waiting for the competition run to get underway. But Ardana Makanova was, of course, the first athlete in the start list, and she scores a 58.01 for that jump. Better than her first round jump. And that puts her in 5th place overall at the moment. Next to jump then, her teammate Adelina Merzakova. And Adelina Merzakova, also for Kazakhstan. Let's take a look back at her jump off that single kicker also. But there with that Zudnik position throughout the flight of that jump. The legs held straight, but the body piked up into that position to make that jump different to the layout that she did in the first round. The athletes aren't allowed to repeat from qualification run 1 to qualification run 2. And that was a 55.76 score for Adelina. Better than her first round jump. Nelly Gronichova for Czechia, next to jump. A back somersault in the layout position from Nelly Gronichova. enjoying her experience here at the Freestyle Junior World Championships. We are in Airolo in Switzerland. Round 2 of qualifications for the women. Ardana Makanova on 54.28 currently leads as we await the score of Meli Kronichova. And that puts her, well, it's the second best score of the second round. But overall, putting Gronichova into 12th place at the moment. Remember, it is the top 6 that are looking to move through to the final. Hilaria Lozano for the host nation with a back layout and a nice landing. She had a good first round jump with 55.89, which at the time put her into 8th place. The scores that we really need to bear in mind here, the score is 57.19, because that is the score of Yelizaveta Boyarovska of Ukraine, who is in 6th place at the moment. Remember, it is only the top 6 who will get to jump again in the final to have a chance at an FIS Gold World Championship medal today. Hilaria Lozano, 55.89, doesn't quite make the cut to the top 6 today at the Freestyle Junior World Championships. Which is a shame that the host nation aren't represented. There was a Swiss athlete in the men's competition. The Swiss men jumping well in their earlier rounds. Now we have Elia Biron with a back layout for Canada. Little bend of the knees there, though. She went for the back layout, but tucked the knees up, so losing a little bit of form. Not quite as good as it could have been. But Elia Biron gaining, of course, valuable experience here at the World Junior Championships. Nice takeoff. There was the bend of the legs that she'll be a little disappointed with. The landing was superb. And a nice jump from the young Canadian. She is only 14 years of age. Let's not forget the youngest competitor in today's competition, no less. So well done to Elia Biron of Canada there at 14, competing out here on the world stage at the Junior World Championships. Catherine McAnini of the USA gets ready at the top of the hill. Lining up on the double jump. Well, we saw her do a lay in the first round. That was a lay tuck. That describing the positions utilised throughout the double somersault. Lay being the layout position in the first flip. Tuck being the position in the second somersault. McAnini. Nice straight layout position in that first flip. Tuck position in the second. Nice acrobatic skills from the young American. 63.6 she scored in the first round. That was enough. Well, at the moment, that score alone holds her in 4th position. So in with a good chance of a place in the final today. Certainly the highest scoring of the American junior women's team. She goes better on jump number 2. 65.42. And she does hold her position in 4th place, but with a slightly stronger score. So that will stand her in good stead. Let's see how Kylie Hacker gets on, her teammate. Back somersault with a tuck position on that first jump. Nice takeoff from Kylie. And a good flight, good control, good landing, an easy degree of difficulty, but a very well executed jump. But compared to the likes of her teammate, Catherine McEnany, who we saw going off the bigger kicker and doing double somersaults, those double somersaults, of course, giving a much higher degree of difficulty, the multiplication factor for the judges' scores to arrive at that total. So just a little bit of extra difficulty makes quite a big difference as that value is multiplied, as I say, by the judges' scores. 53.8 for Kylie Hacker. Rihanna Makanova going for a single somersault. She scored a 58.1. Sorry, a 55.14 in the first round. The flags there indicating that there is still some wind around the jump site here in Airolo, but looking like it might have dropped off a little bit after the men's competition this morning. Current lead score currently held by Diana Yablonska of Ukraine, an 80.95 from her first qualification jump. Rihanna Makanova slotting into 10th place with her 2 qualification jumps now complete. Only the top 6 to jump in the finals. Victoria Coate, a competitor last year in the World Junior Championships, lining up on the single kicker as she did in the first round. Whoa, well, we haven't seen one of those yet today. That was a back somersault with a double twist, or a 720 spin, if you like. And it's quite a high degree of difficulty, that trick. It was relatively well executed. Let's take a look. Wraps the arms in there. 1, 2 spins of the body. Just a little bit of instability, unfortunately, as she landed and skied away. The arms waving around a little bit as she made her way down that landing hill. So that would have been a high-scoring jump, and it still will be a reasonable score, but that little bit of instability on landing will attract deductions. So Victoria Coate of Canada awaits her score. She scored a 51.29 in the first round, and she gets a 58.31 with that higher degree of difficulty in the second round. So she gets herself up into 5th place. So for now, she is in a top 6 position. She is in the final for now, but we do still have Several athletes still to jump in this qualification round 2. The current leader, Diana Jablonska, ready to jump once again. Pressure is off. She still leads. She's solid in that top 6 at the moment. Now that was a good jump. A little bit too much airtime perhaps. She was a little over-rotated, but it was a double twisting, double back somersault from Jablonska. Nice straight body position, but we can see that the arms are really stretching out as she comes back down to land. As she attempts to slow down that rotation. She had a little bit too much. There will be some landing deductions for that. She sank really low, the knees really compressing and sinking low on that landing. Did she touch her hand? I couldn't quite see from that angle, but I think she may have touched her hand. The degree of difficulty for the full is high, and let's not forget that Jablonska did score the lead jump of round 1, so the pressure a little bit off her. All she's got to do is get into the top 6 at this particular stage, because the scores go back to 0, ready for that final round of 6 athletes. That final to be run immediately after this second round of qualification, so we will get a result soon after the qualifications. We had a great men's competition this morning that saw Azilkan Asan of Kazakhstan take the top spots and the world junior title in that men's competition. Diana Jablonska gets a DNF for that second jump. Actually, that's because she announced she was going to do one jump and did something different. I think she knows that she's done enough to get into the top 6, so used that second qualifying jump as a throwaway with a DNF, jumping a different jump to what she'd actually announced she was going to do. Whoop, a little bit of an over-rotation there for Natalie Lietgeb of the USA on that back layout. Just a bit too much speed probably coming into that jump. So 6 athletes yet to jump in this second round. 6 athletes to complete the qualification round here at the FIS Freestyle Junior World Championships 2026. The score there coming through for the American as we look back up top to Alexandra Montmigny for Canada. On the double kicker. The knees go out on takeoff though. So she didn't quite get the takeoff she was hoping for. The knees just buckling slightly as she hit the lip of that double kicker. Meaning that the flight was a little bit out of control and she couldn't quite put in the execution that she would have been aiming for. That was the point that the knees buckled there. Just mistiming the ride up the kicker a little bit. So she did well to get the landing in, but the instability during the flight of that trick will be reflected in the judges' form points. As we await her score, the current leader in run 1 is Catherine Maccanini with a 65.52. But overall, over both jumps, the lead is Diana Yablonska of Ukraine with that 80.95 from her first round jump. Alexandra Montmigny was in second place after the first round, so not much pressure on her really in this second round. She doesn't do as well in that second jump, but because she got a 75.91 in the first round, she holds on to that second place and is looking pretty good for a place in the top 6 final. Victoria Coate, the other Canadian, is in 5th place at the moment. So looking like we could have a couple of Canadians, 1 or 2 Canadians at least in the top 6. Let's look back to the top of the hill now for Oksana Yatsiuk. Oh, really over-rotating that, though. Just putting too much rotation in on takeoff. Her hand goes up to indicate that she is okay, despite taking a nasty knock on landing. Just leaning back a little too much on takeoff, which gave her too much somersault and resulted in that big back slap there. She'll have bruised ribs tomorrow, but thankfully not sustaining any serious injury. Oksana Yatsiuk in 8th place at the moment on the basis of her first round score, 56.38. She won't go better than that with that jump. So we know that Oksana is now out of the running for today's competition. Thankfully, she is okay. There are the top 6 at the moment with Makanova of Kazakhstan just sitting on that 6th position with a score of 58.01 from her first round. That's the barrier to get into the top 6. We only have 4 athletes remaining. So we know that Diana Yablonska and Alexandra Montmigny of Canada are through. Let's see how our next athlete gets on here in this second round of qualifications. This is Yelizaveta Boyarska of Ukraine. Full twisting back somersaults. Taking it relatively easy. And Boyarska of Ukraine was sitting just outside of the top 6 in 7th place with a 57.19. She needs to get above 58.01 to make the cut into the top 6 final. So nervous moments for her to see whether that full twisting back somersault is going to be enough to do that. Nervous moments as she hovers around the bubble. Only 6 to make it through to the finals, which will run immediately after these qualifications. Only 3 athletes yet to jump to conclude the qualification rounds. As we await the score of Yelizaveta Boyarska of Ukraine. And she stays just outside of that top 6. Doesn't go better in the second round. It's the 57.1, but it's not enough. She sits in that 7th place. And Kazakhstan's Ardana Makanova waits to watch the last 2 athletes down to see whether she will remain in that top 6 position. Here we go then, on course with Lyubu Pilipenka. And that is a nice jump. Pilipenka an individual neutral athlete here at the Junior World Championships. Getting a nice big double back somersault. In for her second jump. She was sitting up in third place after her first round score of 74.67. So either way, whatever happens now, she is through to the final. Even just on the basis of that first round jump, and that second one could do it. She sinks a little low on the landing, but keeps it clean in terms of no hand faults. But like I say, with only 2 athletes remaining, and with her sitting in third place, we know that she's done enough to get into the top 6. And she goes a little better with that second round jump. Gets herself from third up to second place. Lyubu Pilipenka with 80.32. And only 2 athletes now yet to jump. The first of those, Kristina Simkova of Czechia. Here she goes. As we approach the end of the women's qualifications, it's a back somersault with tuck. A nice simple maneuver there from Simkova. And well executed. But I don't think she is going to be bothering the top 6 too much at this particular stage. Only 17 years old. Gaining good experience today in Airolo. Only the top 6 to jump again in the next round. That is the final round, and it is that round that will decide the medals and the World Junior Championship title today. We've already seen Kazakhstan claim victory in the men's competition. And at the moment, there is one Kazakhstan athlete hanging on to a top 6 spot in the women's competition. That's Aldana Makanova, who sits in the 6th place position at the moment. I don't think Kristina Simkova will go better than her, as that was a relatively simple trick. I don't think she'll challenge for a place in the top 6 with that. So I think Aldana Makanova, for now, can breathe a sigh of relief. And we do have one athlete yet to jump. That is Alison Patton of the USA to conclude the women's qualification rounds. There she is, lining up at the top of the jump, lining up on the single kicker, looking like she's going for a single back layout somersault. And there it is. There was a little bit of a tuck position in there too, so I'm not sure what the plan was. But it was a good, clean jump either way in terms of the landing. And again, I don't think Alison Patton there will be really bothering the top 6 position, but she's enjoying herself and the experience here at the World Junior Championships today in Airolo. That looks like we could now pretty much get confirmation of that top 6, I think. I can certainly say that Diana Yablonska of Ukraine has won the qualifications with that 80.95. She is a solid leader at this stage. That score goes back to 0 for the next round, and it is just the best of the top 6, the single best jump that wins the day. It means that Lyubu Pilipenka, the individual neutral athlete, is through. Alexandra Montmigny for Canada is through. Catherine McEnany for the USA is through, as is Victoria Coate of Canada, and I think Aldana Makanova of Kazakhstan. Twelfth place today for Alison Patton of the USA here at the FIS Freestyle Junior World Championships, enjoying the atmosphere of this competition in this beautiful late season sun in a fantastic corner of Switzerland. Part of a 4-day competition that sees 357 athletes representing 21 countries at the Junior World Freestyle Skiing Championships. That is confirmation then of the finishing positions after the women's qualifications. The top 6 only to make it through to the next round. Yelizaveta Boyarska of Ukraine just outside in 7th spot, as is her teammate Oksana Yatsyuk in 8th. Arlina Umazakova and Ryana Makanova of Kazakhstan in 10th and 11th spot. So that gives us the top 6 finalists for this Women's Junior World Championship. Will be contested in a short while, just a few moments for the technical team to re-prepare that jump site for the women's final. That will see the Junior World Championship title decided today here in Airolo in Switzerland. So there will be a short pause to the proceedings for those preparation tasks as the judges get a clean slate of scoring forms as the scores go back to 0 for the final. 6 athletes remaining in the competition now at this stage after those 2 rounds of qualifications. The athletes will be taking to the jumps in reverse order of their qualifying positions. So it will be Ardana Makanova of Kazakhstan who will get proceedings underway for the finals, as she qualified, making that cut in 6th place. Then it will be Victoria Coates of Canada, followed by Catherine McEnany of the USA, the lone American, in the top 6. The second Canadian in the top 6, Alexandra Montmini, will be next. And then Liubu Pilipenka, the individual neutral athlete, will jump as the penultimate athlete. And last down will be the winner of the qualification rounds for Ukraine, Diana Yablonska, as she goes in an attempt to gain the World Junior Aerials title. That 6-athlete final coming up in just a few short moments here in Airolo. Once the athletes have made their way back to the top of that jump site, the kickers have been prepped, ready for the last 6 jumps of the day. Here on day 2 at the FIS Freestyle Junior World Championships. A 4-day competition that sees action on the mogul course and the aerials hill across single format competitions, dual mogul and team events in aerials and moguls, which we can look forward to over the weekend. But right now it is the conclusion of the individual aerials competition, with the women's final about to take place. Looking back to the men's event earlier on today, it was Azalkan Azan of Kazakhstan who claimed victory in the men's competition. His teammate Din Muhammad Raimkulov will be awarded the silver medal for his work today. And Yuladzislav Vazniuk, an independent neutral athlete, finished in 3rd position. Elliot Beauregard and Elliot Primo, both of Canada, were in 4th and 5th place, with Roman Bondarchuk of the Ukraine finishing off that men's top 6 in 6th position. That's how it stacked up for the men. How will it work out in the women's competition? Just a few moments now until this final gets underway. There it is, the start list for the women's final. It's a clean slate. The scores are back to 0. It will be Ardana Makanova of Kazakhstan who gets the women's final underway. The athletes coming down the in-run in reverse order of their qualifying positions. So it'll be the winner of the qualifications, Diana Yablonska of Ukraine, who gets to jump last. A single jump, the best jump wins, and will decide the 2026 Freestyle Junior World Aerials Champion. And here we are now then with the women's final for the 2026 FIS Freestyle Junior World Championships. The scores are back to 0. It's a single jump from each athlete to decide the champion for this year. And getting proceedings underway for Kazakhstan, it is Ardana Makanova. A nice, simple, but well-executed layout back somersault from Ardana. She's happy with that one. It's a good start to the women's final. Under beautiful spring sunshine conditions. Plenty of snow here in Airolo, in this beautiful corner of Switzerland. As the top 6 women now jump for the medals at the Junior World Championships. A nice, solid landing from that layout back somersault from Ardana Makanova of Kazakhstan to get the women's final underway. The 5 judges making their deliberations to the side of the kickers to decide the points for air, form and landing. Their scores are then multiplied by the difficulty value for the jump. In this particular case, it's a 2.05 for that back layout, to give a total score. So that is now the lead score for the women's final, 57.19 to beat, as Victoria Coate of Canada is next to jump. Victoria finished up in 6th place last year at the World Junior Championships in Almaty, Kazakhstan. Good to see her back again with a double twisting back somersault. So quite a technical single somersault there. Only one backward rotation, but with a double twist throughout that rotation. So a much higher degree of difficulty than we saw from Ardana Makanova. And a good landing from the Canadian Victoria Coate, saving her best jump until last when it really counts. Five judges to score air, form and landing. Victoria Coate awaiting her scores. It's a double twisting back somersault, so a difficulty rating of 2.675. And that gives us a new lead score of 65.0 for the Canadian. That now the score to beat in the women's final, as Catherine McEnany of the USA lines up for her last jump of the day. Plenty of speed, a tuck position in the second somersault, a nice landing too. So that will create competition for Victoria Coate, the Canadian. We saw Victoria Coate do a single back somersault. That was a double back somersault by Catherine McEnany. Now Victoria Coate, remember, got the double twist into the single somersault. McEnany doesn't put any twist into that double, but executes the jump well. She'll get extra air points. She went off the bigger jump. She went a lot higher in the air. So there will be more air points from the judges for that. The difficulty rating, not greatly different. It's a double somersault, but remember, Coate had the double twist. So they're fairly similar in difficulty ratings. McEnany's jump slightly higher in difficulty. And it'll be a close fought thing between the two. Victoria Coate currently leads with a 65.0 for Canada. Remember, the athletes taking to the jumps in reverse order of their qualifying positions in this final. With Diana Jablonska, the last to jump, as she was the winner of those qualifications. So it's a 2.6 degree of difficulty. In fact, Victoria Coate's jump was slightly more difficult, 2.675. As a consequence of that, probably that is all that made the difference. That slightly higher degree of difficulty for Victoria Coate keeps her in the gold medal position with the 65.0, as McEnany goes into the silver medal with a 62.55. 92, sorry. This is Alexandra Montmigny of Canada. That's the most complicated trick we've seen of the women's final so far. Getting the double somersault in with a full twist in each of those somersaults. That should be enough to put her into the lead. That is a more complicated move than her teammate Victoria Coates. A double somersault, but with that full twist in the first flip and a full twist in the second. A little break of form perhaps just before she lands, but critically she gets the clean landing in. And that was good jumping from Alexandra Montmigny of Canada as she makes her claim for the junior world crown. Brilliant stuff. It'll be a high scoring jump. Remember, the lead score at the moment, 65.0, is the gold medal position at the moment for Victoria Coate of Canada. Five judges making their deliberations to arrive at a total score for the Canadian. And she's the first athlete in the women's final to go past the 80 barrier, 80.32. Alexandra Montmigny goes into the lead. It's Canadians in the top two spots. Catherine McEnany of the USA down into third as we look back up top for Liubu Pilipenka, an athlete, an individual neutral athlete, I should say. And it looks like she is also intending to jump a full. It's the same jump we've just seen from Montmigny of Canada. Let's compare the two. Well, it's pretty similar. That's going to be a close call. She gets both the double somersaults in. She gets both the twists in. She gets a pretty clean landing on the end of it. Not much to separate the two jumps from Pilipenka to Montmigny there. Nice straight body position in both flips. Little break of form just before landing, and once again a clean landing. For my money, they were pretty much exactly the same. Pilipenka's jump and Montmigny. This could go either way. Whichever way, it is going to be close between the two. Currently in the lead position, it is Alexandra Montmigny of Canada. In second place at the moment, Victoria Coate, also of Canada, as we await the score of Liubu Pilipenka, an individual neutral athlete here at the Junior World Championships, and with only one athlete still remaining to jump in today's competition. 83.47, Pilipenka does indeed go into the lead, edging Alexandra Montmigny down into second place, and Victoria Coates into third. They are the top three positions at the moment as the last athlete down prepares to jump. The wind still blowing at the top here of the in-run in Airolo for this Junior World Championships for 2026. The last athlete in the individual women's aerials competition, Diana Jablonska. She lands it clean, and that is a great finish to the women's final and a great jump from the Ukrainian. An excellent double twisting, double back somersault. The pressure was on. She had just seen two fantastic jumps. One from Alexandra Montminier of Canada, the other one from Pilipenka. She goes for the same jump, a full. And again, it's fairly similar in terms of performance. I think it's possibly going to be down to airtime. I think Diana Jablonska was possibly higher in the air. I think she had a little bit more airtime. Difficult to be sure of that, of course, but that's my feeling. And I think it could be perhaps down to airtime that separates the two here. Both the jumps have the same degree of difficulty of 3.15, which will be multiplied by the judges' air, form and landing scores to arrive at a total. So they're matched on degree of difficulty, and they're pretty evenly matched in terms of execution as well. Let's see how it turns out. Well, it's only a 77.8 for Diana Jablonska. So she won the qualifications, but she has not won the final. She will have to settle for third place today with that 77.88. All three medalists in the Women's World Junior Championships performing double back somersaults with double twists. The victor on the day, Lyubu Pilipenka. Second place for Alexandra Montminier of Canada. And third place there for Diana Jablonska of Ukraine. Excellent jumping to conclude the action today at the Freestyle Junior World Championships here in Airolo. And a little bit of a disappointment, I'm sure, for Ukraine's Diana Jablonska. After jumping so well in the qualification rounds, she jumped well in the finals too. But Lyubu Pilipenka and Alexandra Montminier both stepped it up when it came to that final round, saving their best jumps until last. And in the end, it was Lyubu Pilipenka competing here in Airolo at the World Junior Championships as an individual neutral athlete who is the victor. So the action concluded today on the jump site. Plenty more to come over the course of the weekend here in Airolo, of course. Moguls and aerials action across Saturday and Sunday with side-by-side dual moguls and with team dual moguls to be contested and team aerials as well. But that is the way things stack up in the individual aerials competition in the women's event. The victor on the day, Lyubu Pilipenka. Second place for Canada's Alexandra Montminier. And third place for Ukraine's Diana Jablonska. The top three in the 2026 Junior World Freestyle Aerials Championship. A great day's jumping on the jump site here in Airolo that saw Azarkan Asan of Kazakhstan claim the victory in the men's competition. His teammate Din Muhammad Raimkulov took second place. And Vladislav Vazniuk, another individual neutral athlete, took third place in that competition. Canada were in the mix there too. Elliot Beauregard and Elliot Primo in fourth and fifth place, with Roman Bondarchuk of Ukraine in sixth in that men's competition. Once again, confirmation of those women's results today. An 83.47, the winning score for Lyubu Pilipenka an individual neutral athlete to claim the World Junior title. On the jump site today, Alexandra Montmigny of Canada, with second place, and Diana Yablonska of Ukraine in third. A great day's jumping under blue skies and bright sun today in Airolo. A great way to round off the winter season for the Freestyle Juniors. Confirmation there of those scores and positions in the FIS Freestyle Junior World Ski Championships on the Aerials Hill today. So that is where we say goodbye for today from the World Junior Freestyle Championships. We're going to finish off with a quick look around this beautiful area as Refisen presents the World Junior Freestyle Championships here in the beautiful areas of Airolo and Quinto in this beautiful corner of Switzerland. Come back and join us as the championships continue over the weekend.